Welcome to a ridiculous video about a ridiculous game set in an office. Before we start, I want to ask you a question. What's the most important thing about a game? It's the fact you're able to play the game. Everything else comes second. And currently, you can't play this game. So let's fix that. For a game to be playable, it needs a core gameplay loop. This is the thing the player will keep doing over and over and over again. Our game features two main gameplay loops. A run, which goes from when the player starts the game to when they die, and a floor, which are the individual levels a run is made out of. We're going to start by creating the floors, since we need those to be able to make the run. Otherwise, it's kind of like having a sandwich without anything on it, and that's just bread. Anyway, last devlog we did the difficult part by implementing procedural generation. However, we didn't make a way to move between the floors we generate, which is pretty essential, so let's get to that. To move between floors, we're going to be using an elevator. The idea is that whenever the player is done with the floor, they'll be led to a room with an elevator in it. Then, after they go inside this elevator, the player is teleported to a new scene with only the inside of the elevator in it. Behind the scenes, we then start generating the next floor, and whenever it's done, we open the elevator doors, granting the player access to this brand new floor. Okay, so the only things I had to do for this was create an elevator sprite, animate the doors so they can open, and make the sprite for the inside of the elevator. I also had to create a fade in and fade out effects, and make sure the elevator would disappear after entering the first room, but that's about it. Okay, so we now have a functional elevator, but what we don't have is enough rooms, and the rooms we do have are exceptionally boring. So I think we need to create a couple of interesting rooms to fix these problems. I started by creating a blank slate with just the shape of the room. I then added things like walls, hallways, windows and doors, along with decorations like cabinets and paper. The idea is that every room will have plenty of open space in the middle where most of the fighting will take place, and stuff to decorate the rooms along the sides, because originally I tried adding objects like desks in the middle of the room, but I found that the player would just kind of keep bumping into them, which felt really annoying and ruined the flow of combat. Not to mention the blood on their feet and legs, just horrendous stuff. So it was much better to just keep them out of the way. Okay, so I now had a general guideline on how to create rooms, and it was time to make some more. I started by taking the decorations we made earlier, separated them into loose files, and imported them into Unity. This will allow me to not only reuse them in future rooms, but also add things like collisions, animations, and behavior to them. It also means I just need to create an empty room outside of Unity, and then add all the little details after it's already in the game. There's a chance that at some point I will even create a tile system so we can create the rooms entirely in Unity, but for now that's just too much trouble. Okay, so at this point I've made about 8 rooms, and everything is looking great apart from one thing: the doors. You see, last devlog we introduced doors into our game, and we made animations for the opening and closing of those doors. However, we only animated the side doors, since those were the only ones we had. But now we've got more types of doors which also need animating. So I got to work and created these 4 animations. They're not perfect, but they'll do just fine. And at least now we can have a room with 4 doors all opening and closing at the same time, which is just really satisfying. Okay, so at this point we've got the rooms pretty much finished. But what I think the game really needs at this point is a really cool gun. However, before we get to that, this video is sponsored by Brilliant. If you prefer learning by doing instead of reading, you're gonna like Brilliant. It's as simple as that. I've been using Brilliant for a bit now, and I'm genuinely amazed by how concise and interactive all of their courses are. For example, I did a course called Thinking in Code, which teaches you the fundamentals of programming, something that's very useful as a game developer. And most of what I did in that course was moving a little robot around to collect coins, and I honestly wish I could learn everything like that. And I almost can, because Brilliant has tons of courses and thousands of lessons, with more being added monthly. So if you've any interest in math, programming, science or engineering, I highly recommend Brilliant. The lessons are short, informative and just fun. Head over to brilliant.org/Deynum to start a free 30-day trial, plus the first 200 people will get 20% off an annual plan. Thank you so much to Brilliant for being my first ever sponsor, and let's head back to the video. So there's this idea I've had for a gun that goes all the way back to the start of the game, when the player still looked like this, and it is a computer gun. Because the idea of shooting an entire computer out of the barrel of a gun just seemed like a load of fun to me. The only issue is that an actual computer looks like this, and if that's what the builder would look like, I might as well make a box gun, which is just really boring. A possible solution to make the computer less bland could be to use a laptop instead. However, a laptop just feels less ridiculous than a whole computer, so I decided to go with one of those old TVs, you know, the ones with the giant back. I feel like this would be just as big and ridiculous as a computer, but also more interesting and recognisable. So with the idea set, I created this sprite, which I think looks pretty good. I also added these green shockwaves because they felt technological, and it shows the gun does area damage. Okay, so I had the idea of making the TV rotate as it flies through the air. However, it was a terrible idea. It was too much work and it would be a complete waste of time. I did it. It took 3 hours. I mean, it looks pretty good, but was it worth all the effort? No, it wasn't. Anyway, with a rotating TV implemented, it was time to turn it into a bullet. This TV is going to be the first grenade to be added to our game. Now, obviously, it's not a literal grenade, but it's going to function like one. It'll fly through the air until it hits the ground, at which time it'll do damage to everything around it. The first step to achieve this is to make it move to a certain position, instead of the continuous movement that the other bullets have, and this was relatively easy. However, the next step was to make it look like it's flying through the air, and this was more difficult than I thought it would be. I mean, my first attempt looked awful. However, at some point I figured out I needed to use wait, give me a second.
Parabola.
Basically this shape, but turned upside down. However, figuring out how to make an object move in a parabola was surprisingly difficult. I had to do more math than I've done in years, and even when it did work, fine-tuning the parameters was a pain. Let's just say it took me a long time to get right. Like a long time. Like a really long time. Sorry, I don't think you're guessing how long this took me. Like a truly long time. However, at some point we got something that didn't look too bad, and I just ran with it. Which means it's time for step 3. The gun. I tried a couple of different designs along with testing out some possible pixel rendering to make the guns look better before eventually landing on a literal handgun. It's really small, but that's what makes it so fun to shoot in my opinion. It's the exact right amount of ridiculousness that a gun like this needs. Alright, time for step 4, the landing. Currently there's the problem of the gun not keeping its rotation when it lands, and also we're missing the green shockwave. So I added both and it looks really good. Only thing left to do was add an impact frame when it lands, and our computer/TV gun is finished. Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I didn't just make this gun because it looks really cool, but it does, but that's not the reason I did it. I also did it to procrastinate fixing all the bugs that adding an elevator and new rooms caused, because in reality, none of it works yet. Well, it does, but only in a very controlled environment and not the actual game. So I spent about a day looking at the absolute mess that is my code and trying to figure out where all the bugs came from. And as you might have guessed, it was not that fun, but I'm proud to say that it's now all implemented flawlessly. Well, kinda. Actually, it's more like if you don't touch it, it almost doesn't fall apart, so I'm just gonna leave it alone. So let's just pretend everything is working great, and let me invite you on a tour of our new and improved office. Oh, hi. Sorry, didn't see you there. I assume you're here for the tour, right? Great. Well, if you just follow me in here, we'll be at the right floor in a moment. Here we are. So this is the reception. Usually there are receptionists here, but I guess not today. Although I'm pretty sure we'll find some people in here. Hi, Bob. Everything all right? What the hell, Bob? What? No, wait. Okay, what is going on? And what is this? Oh, Bob, you're gonna get it now. Miss me? Well, let's see how you feel when someone can fight back. Ha! Take that, Bob. Okay, so that was very weird, but I'm just gonna very carefully do some exploring. Okay, so it's only Greg here. Oh no, not you as well, Greg. What? Please, Greg. Okay, so this can't be a coincidence, and I bet you they aren't the only ones. I think I'll need a better weapon. Something like that. Oh yes, that'll do just fine. Weirdly aggressive colleagues, here I come. Take that. Ha! Phew. I think that's all of them, at least on this floor. Let's see if there are more of them, shall we? Floor 2, here we go. Alright, let's do the... Wait, what's this place? It's just some kind of void. And who is that? More importantly, why does he look exactly like me? Is he still alive? It looks like he's been here for months. I gotta get him out of here. Maybe to like a hospital or something.
I said don't worry about it.
What was that? And who are you?
I am true.